So there's going to be a handful of different cells that make up bone. They're going to mainly be osteoblasts, osteocytes, osteoclasts, bone lining cells. Osteoblasts are going to build, they're going to produce and synthesize the bone matrix. They're going to be in charge of growing, widening, and expanding bone. We have osteocytes, which are going to be in charge of communicating whether they need to break or build up bone cells. They're going to be the communication between cells. We have bone lining cells, which are going to make the periosteum and the endosteum, the lining of both the exterior and interior of a bone. There's going to be osteoclasts, which are going to be osteoclasts are going to be breaking, or I like to think bone cracking, clast cracking. They're going to be reabsorbing that bone and producing and transferring it back into calcium for us to use in the body. We have endochondral ossification, which is the replacing of the hyaline cartilage into bone. This is going to occur during utero, as well as once a baby is born. They are going to then turn their hyaline skeleton into ossified, or in this case, bone. That's ossification. Then there's intramembranous ossification, which is going to be turning a fibrinous cartilage into bone. So this is going to occur when you break a bone. The bone's going to break. Hematoma is going to form. Nutrients are going to be provided to that area. Fibrinous cartilage is going to be filling that space. It's going to make up that space and is going to slowly turn back into bone. There's 5 main steps of ossification from the fetal skeleton from hyaline cartilage. They're going to be, one's going to place a collar of bone around the hyaline cartilage. The 2 is there's going to be a matrix forming in the center. During about month 3, spongy bone is going to continue to form, and blood supply is going to occur and be introduced into the bone. At birth, there's going to be the medullary cavity is going to form, in which bone marrow will soon develop. Blood supply is now actively growing and increasing in this region. And secondary ossification begins. So we have the epiphysis, the diathesis. So the diathesis being the shaft, and the epiphysis being the top or connecting area of the bone. At this place, we are going to have, during childhood to adolescence, we are going to have cartilage, our bone, and between our bone, there's going to be an epiphyseal plate. This is where growth is going to occur. Growth is going to occur both lengthwise and widthwise during adolescence. It's called the growth plate or the epiphyseal plate. So interstitial growth is going to be the lengthening. Interstitial is going to be the lengthening of the bone at the epiphyseal plate. And increase in width is going to be appositional growth. It's going to be widening. Some bones stop growing during adolescence. Some bones continue to grow slowly throughout life, such as the nose and the lower jaw. So the way it works is we have our cartilage that's protecting bone from bone. Then we have our starter bone, and we have our epiphyseal plate, that hyaline cartilage. There's going to be an area of resting in there, in which just hyaline cartilage is just chilling, doing its thing. There's going to be then a proliferation zone, in which cartilage undergoes mitosis, so it's going to go ahead and begin to multiply. There's a hypergrowth or a hypertrophic zone, in which those mitosis-sized cells, those cells that have reproduced, are going to enlarge and they're going to begin to build. And then calcification is going to come in. A matrix of calcium is going to enter and those cells are going to die, and that matrix is going to then be re-deteriorated into blood vessels inside the cavities, and then ossification occurs. So that hyaline cartilage is then going to turn into bone. It's going to be made hard. So both, yep. As for the creation of bone, we continue throughout our lives to strengthen and weaken bones. Wolff's Law states that bones, when in use, so things like walking, eating, living, jumping, running, all of those things are going to manipulate bone function, and it's going to require bones to thicken and grow. As stresses occurs to the bone, our body then naturally encourages osteoblasts to build up and strengthen those bones. However, when things like calcium are needed in the calcium aspects of our heart, so in order to get our atrium and our ventricle to function appropriately, we use calcium channel blockers, because calcium channels are what helps that conductivity in the heart squeeze and produce electricity and adequately pump. So in order to get that calcium out that we need for that electrical conductivity and that action to occur, we need calcium pulled out of the bones, which are going to be from osteoclasts. Then when there's too much calcium in the human body, we then put it back into the bones via those osteoblasts. Then our parathyroid, so right behind the thyroid gland, there is 4 to 6 little glands that are going to be in charge of informing the body of whether there is high levels or low levels of calcium in the body. This is going to then tell them to respond, and then either to build up or break down bone. Wolff's Law also tells us that the strongest parts of the bone are going to be thickest. They're going to be most likely where it curves. So the head of the humerus sits like this. This is going to be the strongest part of the bone. Yes. That's everything.